Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special version of the On the Line podcast. I'm your host, Noel Alberto, with co-host Oliver Dixon Jefford. Oliver, how are you doing on this lovely day?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
It's okay. It's kind of rainy here, so not really lovely. Maybe it's lovely where you are, so it's whatever. But we are here to discuss a special, and why are we doing a special? It's because finally, after 2.5 years, Eugenie Bouchard and the USTA have come to a settlement on her whole concussion, slipping in the locker room incident. So we're going to go back in time to September 2015. Bouchard, 25th seed at the US Open, slipped after returning to a dark changing room after a mixed doubles match with her partner Nick Kyrgios. So this was Bouchard's second match of the day. She won earlier before her mixed match over Dominika Sibylkova to set up a fourth round showdown with Roberta Vinci. So she lost her footing on the wet floor, fell backwards, injuring her head and elbow. So Bouchard withdrew from the women's and mixed doubles events, according to a medical team, and she was still being evaluated, hoping to face Roberta Vinci. But then she entered Flushing Meadows that Sunday wearing dark glasses and hoodie and her head down. And tournament director David Brewer confirmed Eugenie Bouchard is withdrawing from the women's singles competition at the 2015 US Open due to a concussion. So after that, she only played one other match in the season. I believe it was in Wuhan, or it was in China.
China, yeah, she retired when she sat down against Petkovic.
Yeah, she retired in China. Yeah, sat down to Petkovic due to, she said, dizziness. And it was not the same after that. So we move forward in a few months. Yeah, it was at the China Open, so that'd be in Beijing. So
Beijing, yes, yeah.
So she filed a lawsuit against the USTA for damages related to her head injury for falling in the changing room on September 4th. So Bouchard had a lawyer. We'll be mentioning his name pretty often. Benedict Morelli said the substance was a cleaning agent that was intended to be left on the floor overnight when the room would no longer be used. Bouchard entered the room after a late finish to a mixed doubles match and a subsequent news conference. He continued, if they were going to do that, they should have closed the door and locked it off, and they did not. So a lot of things have happened. Bouchard has really tumbled in the rankings since then, and finally a settlement has come, and Ben Rothenberg of the New York Times was there, and Oliver will send it to Oliver to get a little more on the details of the trial, which obviously will be coming from Ben Rothenberg. Oliver, take it away.
Okay, so the trial started back on Tuesday. It's only a few days, and on the opening day there was a few examples of evidence getting given out. One of the key points that came from the first day was that Bouchard's team, headed up by Benedict Morelli, interviewed several members of staff at the tournament, obviously at Flushing Meadows, who are cleaners, and not one of them admitted to being the person who cleaned the room that night. There was one person who did say it was someone else, but then that person who was accused of being the cleaner in that room that specific night came on and said it wasn't them. And also what is interesting to note is that it seems that that was the first night that the cleaning substance had been used. So it was really very untested. You flash those various throughout the next couple of days. There's quite a few people spoke. Bouchard obviously spoke and was interviewed by the judge. There was various back and forths, but there was a sense, and obviously Rothenberg tweeted that he sensed that Bouchard's camp was going to win, and there's a general sense, and the jury were put out, and I believe it seems only within about an hour they had come forward and said that they had found the USTA liable for the injury to a large extent. They did put
75%, right?
Yeah, they did put 25%
on her,
on Bouchard herself, but 75% of the fault for the incident was put on the USTA, and they were found negligently liable. So that was on Thursday. So they came back on Friday for damages. One issue that had come up throughout the trial was that Bouchard was sued for a loss of earnings, and the USTA wanted her and her legal team to reveal how much she had earned off court in terms of sponsorship, and she was unwilling to do that, which was a key moment because at this point it had to be a settlement in a way, and it took around 4 hours to decide the end, which is quite a long amount of time. And at one point, I believe the judge was critical of both sides for holding up the jury, because obviously the jury are just normal people who have day-to-day lives and jobs. But eventually, after 4 hours, there was an agreement made. It appears, obviously, there's no confirmation, but it appears from what I've seen on Ben Rothenberg's Twitter and on other Twitter accounts that the two legal teams had agreed, but it looks as if Eugenie Bouchard and her mum, who accompanied her to this lawsuit, were trying to hold out for more money, but eventually the sides agreed. We don't know whether they were able to get more money in the end, or they were persuaded by the likes of Morelli to accept the offer that was given. But eventually they came to an agreement. The settlement is undisclosed, so we'll probably never know exactly. There's been some rumours on Twitter and some articles, but it's incredibly hard to tell. It's likely to be a fairly substantial amount of money.
Yeah, over $1 million, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope I think that's a solid summary. She came out of court after, spoke to some media people afterwards.
Yeah.
Both her and her mum both said they were happy. Bouchard said she felt vindicated. She'd been telling the truth, and yeah, that is what I hope is a basic summary. There'll be a lot more detail than that, but obviously we don't have the time to go into it all.
Yeah.
But the gist of it is that Bouchard has won the case, but at the same time, it is not a massive loss for the USTA in terms of, and the US Open in terms of running the tournament and in terms of money, considering how much they make.
Yeah. But yeah, so continuing on that, her lawyer, Benedict Morelli, said, if people attack you, so you as in Bouchard, attack her name, you get affected by that. So, but she's living with it. And Bouchard continued, added to it, she's relieved it's over, everything is done. So, probably a multi-million-dollar settlement, as we mentioned, but something you have and alluded to before in previous podcasts were that Bouchard, kind of with the concussion trial still waiting to happen, but now it's over. It was she was like probably is still weighing on her mind. So probably you said could have been affecting her tennis. So now this all said and done, she's waiting for a wild card to Indian Wells, which is the next tournament she hopes to play. Currently ranked 116th, so well outside the main draw cutoff. Do you think she'll be a little more focused on tennis now that this is all said and done?
I mean, it's hard to tell exactly how much effect it played on her, but it's certainly not going to be a bad thing. She, it's over. She got exactly what she wanted, so mentally she's going to be in a good place. So yeah, I think it will help her. I mean, I'm not expecting like a massive switch around straight away.
Yeah,
her to start demonstrating some of her best form again. But I think she will. It will be off her mind. See, since then she's had to play at the US Open twice, which can't have been great for her mentally.
No, not at all.
Obviously, had the end of 2015 disrupted. So it must have. So yeah, I think obviously in terms of 2015 being disrupted, it affects her start to like 2016. So it might have had some long-term repercussions. So it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it'll take a while for her to get back to her best. I think probably, I know she's been okay so far this season, hasn't had too many matches. But I believe probably if she's going to find that form that she showed 2014, early stages 2015, It'll either happen, like you said, over a while, so either later in the year or maybe next year, a nice fresh start for her and everything. But what do you think will be uh, her? I guess where do you predict she'll end up after like probably her best rankings after all this? So now it's all said and done. Former top 5 player, former Wimbledon finalist, semifinalist at 2 other majors. Where do you think she'll end up? Like probably best ranking and maybe probably best slam result post this, if she's at her best again.
I mean, it's so hard to tell. Obviously, we talk about how tennis keeps progressing, and it does. But I mean, back in 2014, she played some very good tennis in the slams, and I mean, obviously, tennis has moved on since then, but it hasn't moved on dramatically.
Yeah,
not as if it's been a whole new era ushered in. So I mean, if she's able to play her best, she's not going to be far off the pace. If she can get back to the form she displayed, obviously winning a title, I think in Nuremberg, obviously Australian Open, French Open semi-finalist, Wimbledon finalist, obviously back-to-back second week ones at the US Open as well. So I think you mentioned you said 116th in the world or something like that.
Currently 100, outside top 100. So she's not going to get main draws for Indian Wells and Miami. She might have to play qualifiers, but she's hoping for a wild card into the first of the 2 of the Sunshine Double tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised if she finishes the season that low. I think she'll definitely be back in the top 100 by the end of this year, for sure. Because I mean, even if she hasn't played badly, she's generally picked up 1 or 2 results strong enough to enable that. Such as I mean, last year, obviously, quarterfinal in Madrid.
Yeah, the big win over Maria.
Big win over Sharapova, yeah. And I think she reached a final or something. Maybe that was back in 2016. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I get confused. But yeah, I think top 20 is certainly achievable. I mean, it's so hard to tell with anyone, and however open the tour is or not, because obviously the WTA fairly open right now. Maybe starting to get a bit more consistent.
Yeah, I think the top 5 is pretty going to stay pretty consistent with Halep, Wozniacki, Pliskova, Svitolina, and then someone else could be interchangeable around like between 5 through 9. But that top 4 seems pretty set right now.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a few that seem. I don't think it's going to be like last year.
No,
but I think I mean, it's so hard to tell. Like, can she win a slam? Can she go far? Who knows? I mean, the capability is there, and she has been there before. I think top 20 is very achievable. Maybe not necessarily this year, but in the future. But in terms of if she can move on from that, if she can challenge for big titles, because it's got to remember she has only got 1 WTA title. In that one in Nuremberg, she lost a few finals, so she could maybe pick up a few more titles there, maybe a few premiers in the future. But it's hard to tell. I mean, she could win a slam, but she could have peaked in 2014 and we might not see her play that well again. We can't tell. But I think this undoubtedly being over will be a good thing for her.
Yeah, totally agree. It's all over. I mean, yeah, like you said, she'll be in a good state after this. So she should be fine. But I think you're right. Top 20 is pretty much achievable for her. Maybe another 1 or 2, maybe Grand Slam runs. Like you said, tennis hasn't moved that much. So if she can find that form for 2014 again, you could realistically say she could be a Grand Slam champion, maybe. But like you said, it's too hard to say. But top 20 ranking sounds about good for her. Maybe like a few tour level titles here and there. I think that sounds good.
I mean, to be fair, we got to think she's only 23 or 24.
Yeah, 24. Yeah,
tomorrow.
March. 24 to March.
Yeah, I think her birthday's tomorrow because it's around the same time as mine. So I remember. Yeah, I think generally, her birthday might actually be tomorrow. So this is a nice birthday present for her if it is true. Yeah, 25th of February 1994. So she's going to be 24 tomorrow. She's still very young, obviously. So there's still a lot of time out there considering how long players are generally going on now in their careers. obviously got Serena and Venus out there in their mid to late 30s.
Uh-huh.
There's certainly a lot of time for her to get back into top 20, top 10, win more titles. Yeah, I think a lot of the criticism she's come under from people in the media and on Twitter has been unfair.
From what do you define like because of this whole concussion thing, because of her like social media presence and like struggling in tennis, define like where you think it's unfair.
I think it's just kind of like
a bit of everything.
She had that a bit of everything. I mean, obviously, I think the concussion thing a lot of people were sympathetic for, but I think it's kind of like, yes, maybe. I mean, her tennis wasn't great, but it doesn't mean she can't. Like, she came under a lot of criticism for being on like social media and stuff, and for getting like wild cards and like big courts. Like, none of that's her fault or her decision. She's not as if she like goes into the office and demands she plays in those arenas. She's just given there because people recognise her, and none of that's her fault. So I think that criticism is incredibly unfair.
Agree.
I think I think it's she'll be able to move on from that now. Hopefully, there'll still be one or two people, unfortunately. But
yeah, there'll always be critics out there.
Yeah, I mean, and even if she doesn't, she's entitled to live her life how she wants. So I think people need to zip it a little bit, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. Obviously, every player has their critics, but I feel like with Bouchard, because she's such a well-known name, obviously, very recognizable face in the market, in the media. Like, she was once called the most marketable athlete in the world because of her, like, A, social media presence, B, her looks, which obviously do play a part, but obviously shouldn't play too much of a part in marketability, but it does. See, like, how quickly she rose to fame and how young she was and still is. But I do think the critics, can be harsh, especially for her, because there was a lot of, like, if you throw it back to the 90s, like Anna Kournikova comparisons, where Kournikova, she had, good results too, but people knew her more for her looks and like her being in like Sports Illustrated swimsuit things. And I guess right now, in the age of social media, that's what people are really kind of thinking of Genie.
I mean, absolutely, but at the end of the day, she's entitled to make those decisions.
Yes, she is.
So, and obviously, if anyone makes a decision of any sports or any profession, whether you're famous or whatever, you're always going to get some people who disagree with your decision. So, you just have to take that in your stride. I think a lot of the criticism, though, has been unfair, like I've said, has been unjustified. She's not the first person. I mean, in terms of like the Sports Illustrated stuff, she's not the first tennis player.
She won't be the last either.
She won't be the last, exactly. So, I mean, this year you had her and Sloane Stephens.
Yeah, Sloane Stephens this year. Wozniacki's done it before.
Last year you had Bouchard and Wozniacki, and Serena's done it a few times.
Sharapova's done it. So
I think even back in the day, like Steffi Graf did it and stuff.
Yeah,
and obviously I think Rafa now did the men's version as well.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's all a bit unfair. I mean, if someone's going to present that opportunity and if she wants to take it, she's fully entitled to take it, and that's doesn't matter how well she's been performing or not. So she doesn't insist on being high profile. She's just built up that way. And if you're going to be got that opportunity, she'd be crazy to turn it down. No matter
what. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for this special between Bouchard versus the USTA. So Oliver, where can we find you on social media?
At Oliver DJ 1998.
You could find me at Not First Noel. You could find the podcast Twitter at On the Line Pod. Oliver got the news piece up about the settlement, so that's obviously where we write for WUSA. I'll be getting this podcast up sometime later today, Saturday. Could be early day Sunday morning, wherever our listeners are. But yes, we hope you enjoyed this special On the Line podcast, and we'll be back for our regular show airings on tomorrow or Monday. So hope everyone has a very good day.